Let's talk a little bit about how algorithms work just in general. One of the reasons why Facebook has an algorithm, Instagram, Google, all these algorithms, which I are very suspicious the same one lonely person is coding in a basement somewhere. How they work is really the primary goal is to number one, get rid of spam, and number one, to deliver a good user experience. Everything else is secondary to that. I mean, I could, as a conspiracy theorist, add a third one there, but really, for the most part, the primary thing is to get rid of inappropriate content and spam. And so let's start with that one. So one of the things I've always said will happen is if you act like a spammer, you're going to be considered spam. So how does a spammer act? A spammer is going to post continuously, infrequently, whatever that time frame might be, in a way that doesn't matter what the feedback is. So you might see spam content where if you go to the page, they might have posted 10 things in a row that was exact same picture, and shocker of all shockers, there was no interaction on it. So that's how the algorithms a lot of times will find spam. In Google, it's a little bit different in that the the back button is the death of Google. So let's say, and you've all done it, is you go out, you click on something, you hop over, and you realize instantly that you were searching for something and this isn't even close, so you jump back really quickly. So in that case, it's a time thing as well as a back. Whereas on Facebook and Instagram, it's going to be a pause or a lack of interaction. So, and you've done it too. When you're scrolling, you'll be going through and then you just see crap and you just keep going. Obviously, inappropriate content is probably has a little bit different of an algorithm, but that's not really what we're talking about anyway. So when you look at how we act on social media, one of the main things you need to do is make sure that even though you're not spam, you're not acting as spam. Because if you're acting as spam, you'll be treated as spam. And I've seen this happen over and over again with pages who just post without any relevant consideration, or stopping and looking and saying, hey, why is nobody seeing this? Why is nobody interacting with this? Because if you continue to push that algorithm in a way that that identifies you as a spammer, then you're going to be labeled as spam in a way that you will not be able to overcome that algorithm in the future. So one of the main things is to be really intentional and then go back and look at how things are acting. Is if you're going just post after post after post with zero interactions, no clicks, no comments, no likes, no shares, then it's something that you're going to want to go back and say, okay, I'm a spammer. How do I make sure that the algorithm realizes it's not spam? And this kind of goes secondary into the second part, is the user experience. Is when a user is on these algorithms, they want the things that they want to show up, or the things that they'd be interested in to show up. So one of the ways that the algorithms do that is by tagging in, and I'm going to use just simple words because I'm sure it's so much more complex behind the scenes, but tagging people with certain elements of what like. So you're because it's a network. I kind of think of it as a triangle of, you're going to have like people and places that you've interacted with. You're also going to have subject matters that you've interacted with, and then you're also going to have pages or groups that you've interacted with. So the most beautiful thing is when there's kind of all three of those things come together. So your friend shares a recipe, you already like that page and you interact with recipes all the time, your feed is most likely going to have that recipe. And so how do you tell Facebook that you want that recipe when it comes up? And that is to interact, share, like, comment, click on the recipes that you see in your feed that you do like. And that's how the algorithm learns over time. I always like in the search party situation. So if it's a new, like, let's say it's and we'll often see this around holidays or maybe newsworthy things, is Facebook will pepper your feed with those trending items. It might be a micro trend, by the way, too, which I feel like is more like a water cooler talk. So those trends and those micro trends will pop into your feed because it might have hit one of the other parts of the triangle. It might be from a page that you interact with all the time. It might, or Facebook might see that some of your friends already shared it or interacted with that subject matter, thinking that you might do the same. So you can see how there's different ways to get into people's feeds, even if they are not following you, is by interacting with people that that they're friends with, interacting with subject matter that they're often interacting with, or getting their like on your page. So that's kind of the background as far as how that happens. Now let's look at how a post is going to create the engagement that you need to not be labeled a spammer and to actually have a chance to get into people's feeds. So the algorithm is going to look for feedback as that, looking at how people in general interact with it. So like speed of flipping through it. So like, let's say you have 100 people that like your page, and we're just going to pretend like 100 people might see that post, haha. But if all of them just scooched past it like this, that post is not going to be shown to anyone else. So Facebook might send it out originally to maybe 10 of your people that interact, that like your page. And if they all just scrolled past it, didn't pause, didn't read it, didn't look at the comments, didn't click on it, didn't share on it, didn't like it, didn't, all the things, then it's a post that is going to have a very poor future. So each one of those elements, and I believe they're ranked in a little bit, obviously the golden interaction is the share, because it actually then lives on that person's timeline. The second is a comment, because someone actually stopped what they were doing and put in a comment to interact with it. A third might be a click through in a link, and I think that's probably being downgraded with the lack of link posts on Facebook, and they're being downgraded. But in the world before that happened, that was kind of the third rank, is if Facebook saw, okay, a clicking through is a commitment. You're actually saying, hey, I'm raising my hand to actually go find out more information of that. And then the lowest one of those is like a like, or a like, a thumbs up, a heart, that kind of thing, an interaction that way. Now, I think you get a little bit of points for that pause. So, because Facebook can also see that you stopped your scroll, or you slowed your scroll. And you can imagine that a scroll of, a minute would be worth more than a slowdown of the scroll of 2 seconds. So thinking about how can you get people to interact with either stopping the scroll, reading, liking, reacting, clicking, adding a comment, or even sharing that post, will all give you value within that post. And so that's why it's so important to look at not only the image, because the image can help stop the scroll, but then so that's kind of like the stop sign on the post. But the next part is, will they actually then, once they stop the scroll or they slow the scroll, is it interesting enough to them to then go read the post? And then if they are, like, can we get them, is there some sort of inherent call to action, even if it's super, super subtle, even if it's their internal, oh my gosh, I need to learn more, or I have an opinion on this I want to share, or oh my gosh, this is so valuable, I want to add it to my timeline.